keynote of the day. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to welcome a leader with a remarkable 24 years journey in IT industry. Starting at GE, he has contributed to major organizations like Computer Associates, HCL Technologies, and for the last 14 years at Capgemini. From business roles to like a project manager and a portfolio director to working across India and Europe. His global experience shaped his passion for people and learning. This led him to earn masters in psychology and transition into human resource, where he now serves as a global head for learning at Capgemini's Insights and Data Unit. Please join me in welcoming the inspiring leader, Sajjad Ahmed, to unlock the career growth, excel in the rapidly changing world. Please give a big round of applause. Thank you, sir.
This just goes forward, right? Right. Still good morning. Okay. Well, first of all, thank you so much for PSA and RF for giving me this opportunity. And, you know, some of you might be working professionals, and this is the time when appraisals are happening. And in fact, today, my own personal appraisal would have happened at the dinner table had my son arrived here, because he also wanted to come, but apparently he couldn't. And he's also a good speaker. He goes to school, and I hear from his teachers that he speaks well. So I have been saved from that personal appraisal at home. Okay, so in the next 20-30 minutes, I'll go over a lot of things, because I see there are some students, there are some working professionals. So I'll try and cater to everybody's needs, because it becomes very difficult when you have a mixed crowd. Yeah? Okay. So what we typically think of a career is, especially if you plot it on an x-axis and y-axis, with time we grow. Right? It's nothing to do with just career, but if you look at our own human lifespan development as well, we grow from an infant to a toddler to an adolescent and all that, right? Just like that, if you have to map your career, what people think is a career should look like this. An ideal career, right? A typical one. And when you ask people, then they say, okay, if I'm a fresher, then I got to become a lead manager, director, VP, and the C-suite. But in reality, they are all just designations and titles. Because if you go to a banking organization, their designations titles will be completely different than the one that happens in a consulting firm or a service integrator, right? So that is the first thing that I want to tell everybody, that when you think about a career, don't think about titles and designations. Because, as I said, the same person can be doing the same title. They might hold the same designation, but their role might be different, and the gradings are also different in organizations. Because I used to work for General Electric, then Computer Associate, HCL, and the gradings there versus what happens in Capgemini are completely different. In real world, you might have seen, and I think Arif was just touching upon that, when you see somebody else growing. This might happen. You are a fresher, you become a lead, and for some time you will not grow, and suddenly you will grow, right? For some, there will be demotions as well. Anybody here who heard about demotions in your, you heard, right? So these things also happen in some cases. So basically the bar will be raised all the time, right? It just goes on. It doesn't come back. Now, if your career graph is looking like that, you can conveniently say that, okay, you have reached that stagnated stage. If it is looking like this, then definitely it is underperforming. You started off, but instead of growing, you're going nowhere, basically. So the thing is, range is the key. Now, very few people actually do this. Everybody is in that rat race that I've seen. They want to grow, either gain more salary or go from one company to another company. But in my own experience, I have realized that if you have a range, then you are a wholesome professional. And I don't know, I just missed my introduction when I was just stepping into the room here. But I am not a HR person. I am just 5-year-old in HR. So out of the 24 years of experience, I have always been a business person. I was a delivery director in cloud infrastructure services, but 5 years back, I moved to HR. And I get a lot of questions as to why did you take that step? And I'll share with you when we come to a particular slide. But I have seen, and maybe some of you are very interested in technology, and technology is changing at such a rapid pace that if you don't catch up, then you will be obsolete, right? Human skills, I think somebody, when we were going through the verticals of this organization, they mentioned about the soft skills, and some people talk about power skills or human skills. Extremely important. And I think Danube, when they were talking about networking, is nothing but a human skill, right? It's not a technical skill. Crisis situations, exactly. So I joined Capgemini at a manager position. So that was like middle manager. In that also we used to have something called M1, M2. And then we have M3 senior manager, M4 program manager, E1 director, and E2 senior director. So in the last 15 years, I have moved from there to here. And that's primarily because of doing different roles. A lot of people feel that, well, we thought probably you have to work with the same leadership in the same team to grow. Well, in my experience, that has not come true. Because I joined as a project manager, but then went on to do something else in service delivery, then in portfolio, then outside of India, came back. And within HR also, in the last 5 years, this is my third rotation. I started as a talent director, then HR internal controls, and now I'm heading the learning function for a global business line. And I still feel that there is so much for everybody to grow, provided you are doing different things. As I said, range is the key. If people are interested in reading books, there is a book, and the title of the book is Range. I'm sure you have a lot of questions like, but we hear that we got to be a specialist and not a journalist, and I will answer that in my other slides. So this is a research by one guy, Josh Berzin, and he is like the HR guru. For people in HR, they kind of follow him. He said that, I mean, before COVID, the situation was like this, where it was all about the job. And the jobs and the workers were a lot, because you had people who could do the work related to that particular job. But now, the shift is happening on the work. In order for the work to be done, you need people with skills. And that is what we always struggle. I mean, I don't know if somebody is here in talent acquisition, but when the business says, okay, I need this guy or girl, they go back and say that we are not finding these people in the market. So skills are the new currency. I mean, data is the new oil, people used to say, but now I say skill is the new currency. And the skill landscape is also changing. Earlier, it used to be like a specialist if you specialize in one particular area. probably you will get hired or you get opportunities. But then we move to the T, which says that you need to have a broader knowledge, but a specialization at least, right? Then it went to pi, where they said, okay, not one, you need to know at least two. Now the situation is moving towards comb, which means you need to have a broader understanding, and then you need to specialize in a lot of areas, right? That's the reality. Okay, so just to give you an example how a T-shape looks like, with a lot of combinations in it, it goes both ways. I mean, your broader knowledge also kinds of keeps increasing, and the depth also. And there are color combinations here. The first one is technical skills. Now I'm relating this not just to IT technical skills, but if you are in a particular domain, and that particular there are certain skills which are related to that technology or whatever you use, you need to have those. And the second is the functional skills. Now if I take an example of a IT professional, then the technical skills, let's say a programming language. And the functional skills are, how do you develop the software? I mean, what methodology do you use? The agiles or the waterfall, whatever, the new stuffs that are coming up, do you have those skills? And the third most important that I'm seeing is the industry skills. Because more and more the customers are asking, like, do you have someone who understands my industry? So in our organization, we have identified 10 industries, which we call our focus industries. And just like you have different levels of certifications, we certify our people on industry, level 1 to level 5. And we can go and sell, because we are a service integrator, so we sell our employees, I mean their services to the clients, and basis the certification level, better the revenue for your organization, the confidence to the client that we understand your business, right? So now you might be thinking that, okay, this is all for working professionals and all, but I want to also address the freshers, if there are any, or somebody who is just starting off in their professional journey. I mean, you might be following certain industry, and if you feel that, okay, I want to go a little deeper into that industry, then why not? You will have an edge over somebody else who's applying for the same job in that particular industry. As I said, it's no more about the designations and the ladder. We have always heard from people saying that, okay, I want to climb the corporate ladder. I think with the Gen Z multi-generations that are working together, I mean, that is the most beautiful thing about my job as well, because I get to deal with the leaders who are baby boomers. Then I get to deal with the Generation X, and then now with the freshers who are Gen Zs. I mean, I don't know if Alpha have come into the corporate world yet. But it is the lattice, and squiggle is the new word that I heard, but I couldn't find a picture of squiggle, where it goes up, it comes back, it kinds of goes into the left, right, something like a lattice itself. And people are experimenting with this. I mean, my own boss, who was heading the learning for India, she moved to business now. She is an account leader for a very large account. And typically, if you say that, okay, if she was the head of learning for India, then probably her next role would have been a CHRO. Why is it that she went into a completely different territory, right? But that is what's happening not just with juniors, but also with seniors. Okay. When I said I'll share a story about why I moved from business to HR, that is because of my VIPs. You know, we all are VIPs, but unfortunately we wait for others to tell us that we are VIPs. The day we start to realize that we are the VIPs, then we take full control of our life. Yeah? So what is that VIP? The first is your values. I mean, I'll not get into the definition of value, but I'll tell you the story of my value and where it started. But in order to help people understand where exactly value stays, imagine if you are a tree. Now, what are the components of a tree? Roots, yes. Branch, yeah. Leaves, trunk, absolutely. So these are the things. Maybe there's a fruit also, but I'll not go there. So the leaves are your behavior. Because from a far off distance also you can look at a tree and say that those are green leaves, right? So people can see your behavior. But the leaves are attached to a branch. That branch is your attitude. What is your attitude towards anything? To a large extent, people can also see that attitude. The middle part, which is the trunk, is your beliefs. What are the beliefs that you have about yourself or about any particular topic? But the most strongest of a tree is what? Roots. And your values are your roots. Because that is where your entire life is based on. So my values as I was growing up was to look at my dad, who was a police instructor. So he used to provide training to the officers who used to come, and they used to call him Ostad. And I used to see a lot of respect, though my dad was 2-3 grades lower than these officers, but they used to treat him with a lot of respect. So as a kid growing up, I saw the amount of respect he was getting and the kind of service he was giving it to them, right? Somewhere I feel that my values started from there of supporting somebody's journey of becoming better, right? So that is the first V. Second is on the interests. So all of us have interests, but somewhere we lose those interests. And I think before coming here, I was talking to Pushpanjali, and she said that today I don't find time because my work demands so much, but I have a lot of interest beside, right? So my interest was about reading. I mean, my day doesn't start without reading. So one fine day, one of my friend, she was getting bored and she called me and said, "Arey yaar Sajjad, what are the books you're reading?" I said, "I'm reading a lot on different topics, but what do you want?" She said, "Do one thing, take a picture of whatever little library you have and send it to me." I took a picture, sent it to her. She saw and she said, "Do you even realize out of the 20 books I see in this picture, there are at least 7 books which has either a people or a human word in it?" And that was that aha moment for me, like, okay, I'm reading, I mean, that is my interest, but I'm reading a lot about humans than about the technology that I was associated with. I should have been spending a lot of time reading about what's happening in cloud, what's happening in the latest trends and all that, but I was not doing that, right? So you look at what are the interests that you have and where is it that your energies are going in. Third is the personality. Now, I have heard a lot from people that have worked with me, who reported into me, or my peers, or even my bosses. And they said that you're not too good with technology and all, but you are an excellent people manager. I mean, and your interpersonal skills are good. So when I combined my interest to what I was projecting, then business was not the space for me. HR is where I can not just survive, but thrive. And the fourth is skills. Now, it doesn't happen that you have an interest and you have the personality, but you don't upskill yourself to take on the opportunities. So from my education point of view, I did not do MBA HR. But when I figured out that, okay, HR is the place for me, I enrolled myself after 17 years of professional experience into a master's in psychology. And in that psychology, you have clinical, you have counseling, then you have organization. So I was like, after 17 years, I understand how organizations work, how the job satisfactions are, or the motivation of people and all. So I enrolled in the organization. I mean, though it's a 2-year degree, but working professionals, I'm sure here, will agree with me how difficult it is to do those assignments, do those projects, internships and all. And the 2-year degree I took 5 years, but in 2022 I became a master's in psychology. So what are your whips? Maybe after this session, when you go back home, probably just think what are your whips, and that will unlock the great career that you might have. This is my last but one slide. I spoke about skills, and skills are the new currency, right? Now, how do you skill? And it's a continuous process. As I said, from I to T to pi to comb, things are not going to go back to being how they were, but it's only going to get more complex. You guys heard about VUCA world? Anybody VUCA? Yeah? Right. Volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. Now it has turned into a Bani world, which is brittle, anxious, non-linear, and I forgot what the I is. But it is continuously, you got to upskill yourself. So first is assess. You need to know where you stand first, right? I mean, that is what we do in learning also. We do a pre, and then train people, and then we do a post to see if there is any needle movement. So you assess your own skills. What are the gaps that you have? If there is a proficiency level gap, if you're a beginner, intermediate, master, whatever, then you learn. These days, I think it is so easy to learn than in my days when I started working in the corporate. Because today you have Coursera, Udemy, whatnot. This is another important stuff. And this learning came to me when I was talking to somebody who I felt is a very learned person, articulative and all. I said, sir, I also read a lot, but at times it becomes very difficult for me to recollect what I have learned. So he said, how much are you reflecting on what you learned? I said, what do you mean? He said, did you close the book, closed your eyes, and did you think about what you have learned and where you can apply and all? I said, no, that is missing. He said, start doing that. So for your own reflections also, it's very important. Support. I think when we were going through the vertical, there was one block about mentor. How many of us have a mentor here? See? Now, this is that litmus test. One thing is for sure that you guys are hints. You want to do something about your career. That's a good step. But you alone can do so much. You need a larger support system. So the second action for you is to identify a mentor, be it in your organization or somewhere else, because these are the people who will pick you, and they will show you what you can't even imagine. And very quickly, I can share a story about my promotion. So I was a manager, as I said. So for senior manager, you have to go through a promotion. And I identified one mentor, and I went to him and I said, okay, I have my interview in a week. What should I be looking at? He just asked me one question. He said, do you know what our leadership vision of our organization is? I said, so I just blabbered something like, okay, we want to be number one and all that. He said, that's all crap. He said, there are only 5 leadership vision that we work on. And he explained it to me and said, you got to give your answers which reflect that, okay, you have demonstrated in these 5 leadership vision. And I got promoted. Now I sit in a panel where junior managers are going to get promoted. I can easily figure out who is aware of those leadership vision and who is not. So just imagine if I had not had this connect with this mentor, I would have still been a manager and look at other people who get promoted. Anything, I mean, in GE, I think some of us are here from GE, and we used to say anything we can't measure cannot be improved. So if it's your own skill, you got to have some mechanism to measure where you stand, right? So figure that out, and this is important. You got to time it. So when we do some of the courses in our organization, a lot of people come and tell us, and I think working professionals here will agree with me that I don't have time, boss. Okay, if there is something mandatory, I'll do it. If there is something which will impact my promotion or my rating, I'll do it. But other than that, don't ask me to do anything else. There is a simple theory called nudge theory. If something nudges you, then you will do it. So why can't we just block our own calendar? So I have a 30-minute block on my calendar on a weekly basis. And that time, I just, whatever I want to read about my own interest or my role, I do that. Yeah? Okay. So 3 R's is something that we might have heard about, read, write, arithmetic. But these days, it is the 3 H's. So as you can see, you have a head. We all have a head. We all have a heart. And we all are blessed with 2 hands. So if you want to make a change in your respective careers, first use your head to analyze, think. Because without that, you will be running around like a headless chicken. You don't know where you're going to land up, right? So use your head. Heart, observe, feel, change. And I think the example of Mr. Sajwan, was it Sajwan, Rizwan Sajwan? Yeah. So his heart was not in the slums of Mumbai, but he had great ambition, right? But did he just have that ambition and didn't do anything? But he used his hands, which is to, how do I go back? Yeah. So capability to change. As I said, we all have the capability, just that we don't realize it. So use your head, heart, and hand. And the last is, our work and life preferences don't remain the same because we don't remain the same. Thank you.